Well, good evening and welcome to the Wednesday Wellbeing Show. I'm Amanda Joy, your host for the evening, and tonight I have got an absolutely fantastic guest coming all the way from the other side of the world, from Australia. This incredible lady, I actually met her, we worked together out in the Middle East. In fact, we shared a flat at one point in time, but I can't tell you about what went on there because it was all terrible. But at least to say we had a lot of fun, and we became really good friends. And then we both left the Middle East and have had quite amazing transformational life experiences. But Elisabeth Wightman has had the most incredible life transformation experience. In 2017, she was diagnosed with a brain tumour, very serious brain tumour. That massively challenged her health. Her health was very badly deteriorating, and she was really kind of facing death, really. And she had been working as a life coach and working in different healing modalities for years, and really started to apply these principles to her life. She qualified as a life coach from the Life Coaching Academy, the International Coaching Federation accredited course. And then she really specialised in some areas to help with her healing journey. She worked and specialised in brain health coaching, in positive neuroplasticity, and really got into neuroscience and studied neuroscience and all of the incredible steps and changes that we're making in neuroscience. She really immersed herself in that and applied some of these techniques and tools that she used in combination with the beautiful aura soma work that she'd already done. And she's come up with this incredible healing process, which is all about living by our codes. And living by our codes is about developing resiliency. It educates you and empowers you, helps you to explore and discover your inner mastery. And she teaches 7 main keys, 7 main areas that she explores to really help you to powerfully connect with your inner master and get a sense of the power that you have within yourself. And when we've connected with that powerful self, it's incredible how we can heal. Elisabeth's healing journey is one of unbelievable healing results, one of incredible recovery. And I'm absolutely delighted to have her on tonight, sharing her story. Elisabeth, welcome to the Wednesday Wellbeing Show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Amanda. It's a real honour to be here.
Do you know what? We might have a few sound issues as well, because I am in the north of England and you are in New South Wales in Australia, I believe, where you are right now. So if the sound drops out a little bit, we'll just have to go with that, because we are speaking from literally the opposite sides of the world today. How exciting is it that we have technology that can connect us?
It's amazing.
So Elisabeth, welcome and thank you so much for coming on. But tell us a little bit about your journey. I mean, a journey that you described as rising from the ashes. I love that. Rising from the ashes, from deteriorating health into a new life of resolution. Wow, what a declaration to make. And just looking at you and how gorgeous you look and how healthy you look, this is really a statement of fact, a statement of truth. You really have risen from the ashes of deteriorating health into a new life. And wow, look at you, you're glowing, absolutely amazing. Tell us a little bit about that journey that you have been on, that health improving journey. Where were you when all of this kind of started?
Well, I was in New Zealand and I was just, living in a way to preserve my health, as I'd had other poor health, as you already know, in the past, Amanda. And all of a sudden, it was like I was exercising, I was eating really well, I was doing inner work. And then all of a sudden I started putting on weight and I couldn't deal with stress. And I just felt like a bit of a cock case anyway. And I had this pressure behind my eye. And my partner one night said to me, "Look at your eye, it's really swollen." And so then I took myself to a beautician that specialised in the area of concern. And she just happened to be the daughter of a retired eye specialist who saw my photos, sent me to an eye specialist, and I went for a CT scan. And I was given the grim news that I had some sort of mass in a very complicated place. However, it's okay because there's lots that can be done. Then I went on to a neurosurgeon who did the first surgery April the 11th, 2017, about 3 weeks after diagnosis. And then if we fast forward 13 months after that, I had a second surgery because the first surgery was not as successful as they'd planned. And the second surgery was needed to make sure that I didn't lose my eye, because what had happened is the tumour was in a place where it would freeze my eye and then I'd lose it. And it currently is still there. There's about 2 centimetres and it is wrapped around the optic nerve and embedded in the back of my eye. And then, you know, unfortunately, it's the kind of tumour that has a little tail and starts wandering in places.
So this tumour that you had, this mass that you had, it was behind your eye, and which parts of the brain were being impacted by it?
Well, I'm not quite sure if you and your audience know where the sphenoid bone is, but it's like this beautiful butterfly inside our skull, and it protects different parts of the brain. And so it was behind my eye and it was attached to the sphenoid bone, a tiny bit in the cavernous sinus, and going into the part of the brain up here where we have the wise man or woman in the watchtower that gives us the ability to regulate and respond calmly to whatever the amygdala is picking up on, you know, whether there's a threat or not. So in my situation, when I was picking up on stress and not being able to cope with it and things like that, it was all the inflammation happening.
There's the part of the brain that is involved with responding to the world, to life, and it kind of like works out how to respond in the best way. So if your amygdala is sending like fear messages, this part, the front part of your brain, will be able to kind of go, is it really scary, or am I just having a strange response? And it kind of manages how you're going to respond. So that bit was all kind of swollen and not working, so that was obviously having an impact on how you were responding to your environment, and you were feeling more of an impact of stress and fears and anxiety. Is that right?
Yeah, but that was sort of after the surgery, because when I woke up from the second surgery, I didn't come back to this reality for 4 days. I was actually telling them I was in 1918, and I just remember becoming conscious of where I was and hassling them like, what am I doing here in this bed? And I was sitting there, and why I said that is because in the distance I could hear these elderly people not knowing where they were, who they were, how they got where they had got. And I thought, what am I doing in this room? And so I very quickly came to the realization that obviously I'd been, coming across as a person that had no idea who they were or where they were. And I quickly got it together and got out of hospital, and I was doing really, really well. I had such a bad eye misalignment. I couldn't see properly. So the rehabilitation team would come and do home visits, and I'd learn how to balance again and move again. And then I was doing so well. And then 12 weeks after, I had a seizure, a blackout, and what now is a suspected brain injury. And I was like catapulted into this dark pit where the person I am today was split with a traumatized, like, lost child. So I'd be, you know, going through my day and everything would be stable, and then something would trigger it, and I couldn't talk without crying. I couldn't talk without anxiety. And I was just a mess, basically. And I spent 6 to 8 hours a week attending rehabilitation. You know, it was such an unusual response to how well I was doing. And it's still in the process of being understood and correctly diagnosed. So that went on intensely, and that's what I mean about rising from the ashes, because what I experienced is something beyond anything I'd ever experienced, and it was this sense of at oneness within such a dark, dismal pit, because nobody could be there with me. So I surrendered and I said to myself, you know, I know that my life has more purpose than this sense of, you know, craziness I was experiencing. And each day I believed that my life had more purpose. And I began to create a visualization through a beautiful green emerald that began with the light at the end of the tunnel, because the only way I can describe it is it was like in a meditative state of not being here on the 3D, you know, not being here on earth in the sense, because I couldn't connect with external people as I used to. And in rehab, I would have hallucinations and all sorts of things. And, you know, at one stage, they were concerned that I may have early dementia.
Wow.
Yeah. It was scary. It was really scary. And I just sort of hung on to the threads of wellness coaching and my Orosoma history and history of years and years of working on myself and experiences in life, some of which I shared with the beautiful Amanda here, where you're in this, you know, strange country, Saudi Arabia, where you have to wear an abaya and you have to, you know, tune into all these cues. And so generally, how I used to function before, I couldn't function like that. And I lost any sort of connection to what I was or what I had before. And I could talk, but I couldn't write properly. I spent so long getting information from my mind out. It just wouldn't flow like it used to.
Yeah, so you were able to, you weren't able to write. There was a disconnect from who you were, and you found yourself in this really quite sort of dark place where you were like a frightened child and trying to, you know, get things out, and just the emotions were rising up in you and you were just crying a lot. And so I know that you, when we lived in Saudi together, I know you did some Orosoma work with me, and just again recently you've done some work with me. So thank you for that. It was really, really beautiful. I love Orosoma. Tell us a little bit about Orosoma, so the audience kind of have a little idea of what it is and what it's about.
Well, Orosoma is a mirror to the soul, and it's a way of, you know, having a higher perspective on each of our super potential, in the sense that colour gives us a reflection of what's happening at a level that we may not be conscious of. And so throughout my healing journey with this experience of recovering from the brain injury, I was using Orosoma, and some of the keys will reflect on the experiences I had during that time, and that's how I came up with the 7 keys. But for me, Orosoma has been in my life for over 25 years, and it is such a rewarding, beautiful experience, because it teaches us who we truly are and our potential, and how we can activate these codes within us. And it's a beautiful choice of coloured bottles where you can choose to understand at a deeper level who you truly are. And the best thing to do, if anybody's interested, is to go to orosoma.com and look for a practitioner or teacher in the area you live in. And it is the most life-changing experience. And interestingly enough, before I got diagnosed with a brain tumour, I had chosen bottles that indicated, issues to do with something around the area where the tumour was. And interesting enough, when I was 11 years old, a brick fell on my head when I was in the playground having fun in the country, and then that's where the tumour grew.
Right.
So I truly believe it is like a reflection of whatever we've created from the past. And what Orosoma does is it brings the light to be able to learn to love and accept those parts of ourselves that are very difficult to. As I experienced, in those months, and the most difficult thing was the inability to sort of reach out and be able to explain to people what was happening, because there were no words. So my real downtime was at the rehabilitation, where they were like, it doesn't matter how you are, or what you've seen, it's okay, you can just be yourself here. So I didn't feel like I was being, a burden to them. However, at home and around people I knew, I still put on that mask of happiness.
Yeah.
I still managed to hide a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine, you that whole feeling of being a burden and feeling like you need to have extra support, because I know what an independent, fiery woman you are, and I, when I worked with you, I know you had a great passion about empowering others. So to be in a very disempowered place and have to ask for help must have been a really difficult, challenging aspect of your life at the time. And now I know from Orosoma there are these beautiful bottles that contain different coloured ingredients. What's in a bottle of Orosoma? What's inside a bottle? What makes those beautiful colours that we're drawn to, that give us this information from the subconscious that's then brought into a conscious realm so we can have more awareness? What's inside the bottles? What are in the bottles?
Oh, there's such a combination of, colour essences, gems. Everything is energized with unconditional love and a higher frequency. And so there's beautiful colours, there's beautiful, essential oils, aromatherapy oils. But it's very unique in the sense that, and this also can be found out through orosoma.com, how it's actually energized and created and everything like that. So it's in a way with the highest intent. So whenever anybody, chooses bottles and chooses to use them, as they're connecting with that bottle and they're shaking it, it is going to support the highest intent of the person shaking the bottle, to be able to bring them to that consciousness that they most desire and the higher potential can reach through taking certain steps.
Yeah, so I can totally see that. So there's crystals, there's oils, there's like earthy ingredients from the earth, and that's all kind of infused with unconditional love, and lots of beautiful intentions. There's a real energetic quality to these colours and vibrant herbs and oils and natural remedies all kind of combined together, and you're drawn to the colours, aren't you? You kind of have a look at the colours and say, oh, I really like that colour really speaks to me. And then you find out information, and it's a process of bringing from the unconscious to the conscious for the higher good, for your higher purpose, for your higher intentions. I love that, and it really is beautiful. And I know that you went to Taiwan, didn't you, as a part of your study, but when you were still struggling with this brain tumor, and you did more training. I don't know how you did it, but you did more training, and that was very much part of your healing journey. Tell us about Taiwan.
Oh, Taiwan was gorgeous, and when I got diagnosed with a brain tumor, I had already booked into a teaching or a SOMA course in Austria, which I needed to postpone, of course. And so it was 2 years later that I went to Taiwan. And when I saw Taiwan, my partner and I, would have loved to have gone there earlier, and we decided, let's go. And I was a bit of a cockhead. That's the only way I can describe it, because I booked in, and this is also in my ebook, which anyone's welcome to read. And I was trying to say to myself, you're okay, you're stable enough, you're doing really well. And because I'd been to a neuropsychologist that had generally reflected back that my whole brain processing ability had slowed down, and that there were definite changes. And the big thing that I'm still, experiencing today is a lack of sequencing, which is a really weird experience. So this particular time before I went to Taiwan, which I'll quickly explain and then explain how it influenced Taiwan, I went to a local market, and I was going to meet my son after work, because I was like, come on, Liz, you can do this. You've come such a long way. You're doing so well. And I went there, and all of a sudden, it was like I was frozen in fear. I have no idea how all this happened. And the 2-year-old jumped in, and all of a sudden I was standing there like a lost child at a market, just crying and crying and crying. And I said to myself, just walk out of here, find a way out, which I did. And I rang my son, rang my partner. And I was like, how am I going to get on that plane? How am I going to do anything? This is just unbelievable. This is just like, because you just don't know when something's going to happen. And so I went to Taiwan. My partner walked me to the course every day, picked me up. I was the only person, the English person. Everybody else was Taiwanese or Singapore or from overseas, and it was such an honour to be there with these lovely people. And what was so fantastic is, because there was translation and my brain patterns had slowed down so much, I was able to keep at the pace of the course, because there was such a delay between the first initial explanation and then the second. So I was really relieved, and I had a lovely time. And in Taiwan, I felt a sense of just expansion and peace and freedom, and just, so my partner and I went, and we were tourists, and it was really lovely. We just loved being in those countries. And then got back to Australia, and I have been doing this other course, and I just noticed that there was just a bit more of me returning, and more ability to be able to understand what I was learning.
Yeah.
And then piece by piece, there'd be everything I used to know, connecting the dots with what I was learning, which was new. And then when I did the brain health coaching, I learned more about what was wrong with me than any of the medical practitioners could tell me, because they weren't quite sure themselves. And so I started totally accessing my own inner expertise and creating my own process of recovery. And some of the initial medical specialists I still have, and some I don't. And I just became so empowered, and I said to myself, this is my brain, my life, and my reality, and I'm going to be empowered.
I've been chatting with lots of people recently who've been on dramatically healing journeys. I spoke to somebody who was paralysed and who healed their own spine. I've spoken to people who've recovered from quite severe mental health challenges and have completely healed from that. And the process does seem to be that kind of healing process is having an acceptance of kind of where you are, using sort of meditation techniques and tools to help bring a sense of peace. But then there's this kind of element of really understanding energy and how energy works within the body, and, you know, connecting us to the universe and other realms as well. And there seems to be there's been a development in their understanding of the body and how the body works. And a lot of the people I've spoke to talk about visualizations that they use, visualizing aspects of their body healing. I've spoke about this in a few of my workshops, where I talk about having a conversation with the subconscious, activating different parts of our brain using different thought patterns and processes, and allowing that inner physician, because our bodies know how to heal themselves. You know, if you cut your finger, your body knows how to heal it. So we just need to be programming our minds with the right information and having this understanding of energy medicine, having an understanding of anatomy and physiology and how the body works, the structures in the body, the neurons and the cells and how they communicate, and kind of bringing this mix of energy medicine and physical medicine together, you know, applying those things, and then sort of visualizing that healing, seeing that healing happening within themselves, triggers this incredible healing process. And, you know, people who were paralyzed for 7 years walk again, and people who've had incredible injuries heal themselves, and people who've, you know, basically been told that they're going to be on medication for the rest of their life for a mental health challenge are healing themselves. And I'm having this conversation on a weekly basis, and it's all about visualizations. Now, I know that you immersed yourself in brain health coaching, really learning and helping people as well, and you studied positive neuroplasticity and neuroscience, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the brain stuff in a bit. But I know that you had your own experience of visualization and using visualization techniques. Can you share with us a little bit about the visions that you had, the things that you experienced more internally, those energetic and spiritual healing things, that processes that you went through?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It started in the surgery, and when the surgery ended, I didn't wake up, as I've already explained, but it was more than that, because I didn't wake up from the actual surgery in the hospital. So the anaesthetist and the specialist care in there told my partner that they were rushing me in just in case I had a brain hemorrhage. So during the surgery, something happened, and I was aware of where I was, and I was given a choice. Did I really want to remain here, or did I, you know, want to move on? And it's amazing, because I'd already done so much work with my spiritual mentor, with my coaching mentor, because I believe, you know, we can reach our potential through the mentoring and the modeling of other people, and then that helps us activate becoming the student teacher within. And so it was amazing, because fast forward, I don't know, probably about 5 months after I had the turn of events, and I'd been visualizing for ages. First of all, it started a light at the end of the tunnel, and then I created out of the light at the end of the tunnel this green emerald. And it became brighter and brighter and brighter, and it would just literally, I could see the tumour as the green emerald. I could see everything that was so misaligned on my face, like the nerve damage and everything like that. Like, I still can't feel all this here, and they've got no explanation how that's possible.
Okay.
And so the things that happened to me, they really have no explanation. However, they really are a reality, which I live with. And so I just believed that I was going to experience a better life. And all of this was to take me through a journey so that I could be like a phoenix and rise from the ashes and understand how that's possible, and then take it back into everyday reality and empower other people to be able to activate these codes that I also access during this time. And it was like the emerald came from steps within myself that activated or opened I describe it as like a guidebook to myself and certain processes of how I function and everything like that. And that involved cellular memories and so many things. However, it wasn't, it's difficult to explain because it wasn't in English. It wasn't a everyday conversation. It was so encoded in symbols and colours and visions and, you know, experiences that happened that they say didn't happen, but they happened. And because I was like this inside myself, but on the external, I was making mistakes with dates. I was in post-traumatic stress disorder. What happened across from our house was a arsonist put a supermarket on fire, and I was just so traumatized. So here I was having these incredible, you know, experiences where I was learning so much about my inner world and expanding this, but on the outside to anybody else, I wasn't stable. I wasn't okay. So it was a bit of a trip, I can tell you. And so as I progressed, I brought this incredible sense of this transcendent vision from the inside out into my everyday world, into my everyday life. So much so that the rehabilitation team said to me, you know, through the amazing self-awareness you've got and everything like that, we prefer to go with what feels right for you. You've told us what works for you. We'll go with that. And I was just so blown away. And what was so funny,
to lead your own therapy, your own healing journey. You took control of that at that point. Amazing.
It was. And they said to me, you know, Elisabeth, we haven't come across a person doing what you're doing. Can you, you know, consider how you'd be able to help other people? And this is, you know, not the first medical practitioner that's said this to me. And so I just thought, I just felt very normal. I just felt very me. I didn't realize what I was doing had any sort of extraordinary, amazing, you know, effects that people could see, because I felt so out of it, crazy, not of this world for so long. And, you know, I also, just as I was getting better and then got back from the Orosoma training, and, you know, a few months after that, I started having these seizures, which is still, you know, in the process of being diagnosed and everything like that. So there was never a let up, you know. It went on and still is going on, because, you know, unless I continue in a very calm, peaceful way where I'm going with my own inner expertise, my own inner authority before I go external, I get so overloaded so easily. So I'm just in this place where I just listen to myself, and that is the first and foremost priority in my life. And then I go with everything else, you know. And very recently they wanted to give me a hospital admission to test me for epilepsy, although, as I've said in the ebook too, it could be pseudo seizures, which are a sort of like a possible overreaction to stress and anxiety. But one of the funniest things, Amanda, is during the whole rehabilitation process, they would refer to my behaviour and the way I was with the word anxiety, and I said, oh, no, that's definitely not anxiety. Anyway, cut a long story short, it took about, you know, 7 months before I said to them, actually, you can use that terminology now. I'm quite comfortable with, you know.
Yeah, so I love in your free PDF that's available to anybody, by the way. So I'll post the links on the podcast, and on the advertising as well, so people can download and read that, because it's absolutely incredible. You say that you visualized and focused on a light at the end of the tunnel, with the light expanding its radiance into a more emerald green hue again, and it took months for that light to become really vibrant. But as that light's vibrancy came about, as you were kind of really focusing in and connecting to that sense of that calming radiance that was kind of coming from within you, that you felt it connected you to a deeper part of yourself, a more conscious and stable part of yourself, which gave you this kind of inner support, and gave you this inner strength that really helped you to kind of really powerfully move forward through your rehabilitation process, and through other challenges in life that were sort of going on. But you also said that you really immersed yourself in the sort of brain health coaching stuff and the positive neuroplasticity, and really got an understanding of neuroscience. Tell us a little bit about that journey that you took to really educate yourself about the brain, about the different parts of the brain, about this neuroplasticity, and how we can actually use brain health coaching to transform the place where we're at into a place where we want to be, whether it be impacting our health or our well-being, or other aspects of our life. But obviously for you, it was really about healing your brain. But tell us a little bit about the training that you did, and that learning process that you went through.
Well, I started with the Neuroscience Academy and did that course, and that was amazing. And one thing that really stood out was she recommended that we write instead of use the computer at times, because it really activates a part of the learning process. And when I started, I couldn't write properly. So I was scribbling away and writing away, and it was amazing, because then I moved on to Dr. Amen, who's one of the leading psychiatrists in America, to the brain health coaching course. And by that stage, I was a bit more with it, and I was also doing positive neuroplasticity, so I was utilizing that. But for me, the brain health coaching was amazing, because it gives insight into the different brain types, the different way the brain functions through the brain types, the different nutrients, lifestyle choices that honor and support the different brain types. And when you are the kind of person that has woken up to a totally different brain type, it is freaky. And so I looked at
I bet it is.
I looked at how my brain used to be, and then how it was, and it was not the same brain type. So I was like, okay. So then, through my own experiences and the teachings and everything like that, what he said is, generally a lot of people that are diagnosed with any sort of emotional, mental, spiritual instability, imbalance, generally have had a brain injury or a concussion or something like that. Now, remember I told you at the beginning that I was hit with a brick on my head when I was 11 years old.
When you were a child, yeah.
Yep. And so I believe, and this is what I took into this inner expert within, that when the brick hit me, it affected that part of the brain, and then the tumour growing just triggered chaos. And remember, I was talking about The Wise Woman, Man, and the Watchtower, and that's the most fantastic book. Your listeners have probably read it or heard about it, The Body That Keeps the Score. It's amazing, and that was with me for the majority of my recovery, understanding, how during the rehabilitation process, old trauma may have been, re-triggered and everything like that. And so I was very fortunate, because the rehabilitation team were really honouring of me, and they did some quite advanced, neuropsychology and psychology that taught me how that part of the brain could be calmed down, and different ways of sort of living, because although I was able to do advanced rehabilitation, I could not remember where I would put my wallet. I could not remember where my phone was. So my memory was really disturbed. And that was in the encoding process and part of the memory. So when I was doing the brain coaching, the rehabilitation, noticed the changes. And really what it was for me was to be able to understand, okay, Elisabeth, this is who you are now. This is the brain you've got. How are you going to optimize this? And how are you going to, give yourself the best life possible? So again, I used the visualization of the beautiful emerald, and I visualized it and this new brain just radiating everything possible to give me the best life possible, which I have now. So it all worked together in beautiful pieces. And what I did is I followed an inner guidance to do the courses, see the right people, have the right mentors, And so another really, really important thing was gratitude, moment by moment gratitude because where I went was an experience of a love that is not between people. It's not a love between people, because this love that I went into was sort of like a nothingness, where it was this security within the nothingness, and then just growing from that. That's the only way I can describe it. And I truly believe that sometimes we need to lose our mind to be able to connect properly, because I'd spent many years working on the heart and, helping many people through the heart consciousness. Yeah. So now I have this incredible opportunity, and that's the way I treated it. Here's this amazing opportunity, Elisabeth, to go deep, deep, deep into the brain that very few people get to go into, because I truly believe being on the border of insanity, madness, etc., instead of panicking and freaking out and just losing myself, by being where I was, I got these incredible rare insights into this incredible space we can create for ourselves that just brings out the best of us and the life we can live.
So this process really took you on a very deep inner search to different parts of the brain, different parts of the mind that perhaps the regular people don't have access to. And you use that beautiful healing imagery of the emerald, and in combination with this new knowledge and information, like really set yourself on a really powerful healing journey. And you also started envisioning and seeing yourself as a fully healed version of yourself. You started really imagining that. Was that a daily process for you, using that beautiful emerald space and gratitude and that feeling of love, that feeling of really beautiful, real, pure essence of love, gratitude and love, self-love, and then really visioning yourself as a healed being? Was that like a daily practice for you? Is that still a daily practice for you?
Yeah, and thank you, Amanda. You put that so beautifully. What really comes to mind is the way that I connected with this incredible love, this incredible radiance, this incredible well-being that didn't have judgments, that didn't have any harshness. It was just this beautiful paradise. And then I said to myself, how about if that was radiating out of me and I became that somehow? And that's how I came onto the emerald. What is so beautiful, and green is about space and healing. And when you've got an eye problem, I was saying to myself, what aren't I seeing? Where are my blind spots? So I was working on my subconscious and doing all these things, such a myriad of things, without a very clear path or anything like that. It was just like, I'll do this and this and this. It was trial and error, what worked But most importantly is I became my own client and took myself back to the most fundamental basics that I experienced years and years ago, but with the added bonus of whatever I could connect with within myself. And it was just amazing, because when these things started happening, and the most miraculous, as I said about my eye, it was such minor surgery, but all of a sudden my misaligned face, my misaligned eye, because I couldn't see properly. I had 4 hours a day where I could see normally, and then 20 hours a day of double vision. And double vision gives you an instability in your brain, because your brain is constantly confused. So I was just walking around like a dizzy, confused, person all the time, and it was just crazy. Except there was good stuff going on inside.
Yeah. Exhausting, I would imagine, seeing two of everything all the time. My goodness. Yeah, incredible. So what's really incredible is that you did exactly what you said you did. You made yourself your own client, I mean, I know for years you've worked in healing modalities and you've worked with people, coaching them, and I know we worked together, and the work that we did together in 2015, I believe it was, really put me on a completely different path in life, and helped me in my own beautiful healing process. So I know that you're just this incredible therapist, but this experience that you've had has massively guided where you're going now, and you've been, you've come up with this incredible 7 keys that you talk about in your PDF, in the booklet that you give out for free. The 7 keys. Tell me a little bit about the 7 keys. What are they? And give us a bit of a background on those 7 keys. What are the 7 keys?
Amanda, you'll really appreciate this, because it's like, the love of my life partner. Where did I meet him? Saudi Arabia, of all the places. And for me,
it's not usual to meet somebody in a segregated country, is it?
No.
It's really not good for your life.
It's a beautiful life we have together, to have so much support. And then for me, to be able to gain this access to the 7 keys through the experience I've briefly explained. So the 7 keys were the best way that I could connect with the intellectual understanding of what happened to me.
Yeah.
So the first key is I am self-belief, because it was all about believing I was worth more than the limited dark pit I first spoke of. And then the second key is mindful breath and presence, because those 3 activities, consciousnesses combined, just changed my life. Then the next one is sourcing your world map from your inner world. And that was huge, because I described, what happens in my inner world, and say my inner world is generally expressed and lived through my outer world. And so the filters I create in my life through my world map are very reflective and cooperative with the inner world to live in the same way in the outer world. And then the fourth one is unified intelligence. And what that is it's a deeper interconnection between the brain, the heart, and the gut. And then the next key is Genie, where I believe, each of us have round about 0.1% of individuality. And so this key looks at how do we express and become all we can be to activate the highest gene potential. And then the next key, which would be number 6, is the Phoenix Rising, which is about learning to regulate and stabilize our energy and let go of whatever has outlived its purpose. And then the final and 7th key is the unified support system, which is the combination of everything I experienced. So those keys to me are what I accessed and lived with inside myself at a very deep level that was very different from the external, but somehow I've managed to bring that understanding into a rational, intellectual component, which Yeah, it was very challenging.
I bet it was.
Yeah, it was a mission. And the thing is, I used Orasoma because Orasoma is like a language of light. So I used that, and I used many other different teaching modalities that I've learned and coaching myself, and, you know, spiritual mentors and coaching mentors. And my partner has beautifully, unconditionally supported me. And now it's in a place where I'm about to, you know, launch webinars and everything like that, just through the excitement and the gratitude to be here and feel a lot saner and a lot more capable of being able to live again in this world and share as much as I can about this amazing potential.
I mean, it really is very, very exciting to even just comprehend that we can change our physical being, we can change our bodies with our minds, we can change our physical makeup, our cellular makeup, our genetic makeup using the power of our mind. That blows me away, but I'm just seeing it in so many different ways and different modalities, and it does seem to start with this need to really understand that I am present, that self-belief, that just having some understanding of how powerful we are. And you know, I am beautiful and I am powerful, and my body does know how to heal itself, and just having that first step in that self-belief step. And every single person I've spoken to who's been on a healing journey had a moment where they heard a little voice in their head say, no, I'm not believing this, I'm going to do something different. I believe that I know how to take care of myself. I'm going to set myself on my own journey. I'm really stepping into their power. And the mindful presence and using mindfulness and meditation to create beautiful feelings of tranquility and peace. And then, you know, working out what's going on and getting that. I love how you talk about a world map, visualizing your world map, stepping into your world map, sourcing your world map. What is your divine calling? What, you know, who are you? Where are you meant to go? There's lots of different ways to kind of describe that process. You know, that unified of intelligence, that coherence between the brain and the heart, just in terms of entrainment and rhythm and brain waves and how your heart beats, and not forgetting the gut and that mind that's in the gut as well. And we can see that through traditional Chinese medicine, and we can see it in other different healing modalities. And everyone that I've spoken to has gone through nutritional changes, they've gone through energy changes, meditation changes, and they've stepped into this place of bringing about balance within the body through spiritual practices or nutritional practices, all sorts of things. I love, you know, that idea of connecting with the essence of who we are, and tuning into our highest potential, letting go of those things that are not serving us in our life, allowing that phoenix to rise from the ashes, visualizing your whole healed self, and that bringing it all together in this unified support system. I love it, Elisabeth. It's absolutely fantastic. And I love how you've really broken it down into really manageable, achievable, doable steps for anyone who is in this position. How do people get their hands on your work? How do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
Well, I'll be featuring your show on my website, and because I just believe what you're doing is amazing. So I have this strong belief, and I was just, you know, in a very meditative space listening to you, and it was so beautiful. I just believe, like you and I have been brought back together, that the right people will find me. And how I can be found is through www.livebyyourcodes.com, and generally if anyone just puts live by our codes, it's the only business with that name. There'll also be webinars starting. If people go to the website Live by Our Codes and enter the email address, then they'll receive emails and complimentary webinar invites. And I also do some complimentary coaching and all sorts of things, because for me, it's like, you know, taking sort of the integration of all my training, my personal experience, and the 7 keys, and facilitating other people to believe in themselves, to be able to activate their own inner expertise and create the life they're here to have, the best life possible, and know that within all the limitations and problems are the solutions that come from within you.
Elisabeth, I'm going to share your links on my Wednesday Wellbeing Facebook page, and I'll also put it on the podcast and on any of the other advertising that I'm putting out there to promote your show, so that people can connect with you, because you can work with Elisabeth one-to-one, you can join her in her webinars, and you know, if you feel that this is work that you want to do, this, if you want to get yourself onto that self-healing journey, that self-healing process, Elisabeth has really broken it down into beautiful, easy to do, doable, manageable, achievable steps, those beautiful 7 keys, and you can work with her and experience your own beautiful healing journey. Elisabeth, thank you so much for coming on. It's gorgeous to see you, and you're just such an inspiration. Honestly, I get goosebumps and my heart beats fast when you share your incredible story and your ongoing healing journey, because you are continuing to heal and restore, and like, you just look incredible, you look radiant, and it's just so good to see you.
Oh, thanks, Amanda, that's beautiful. I'm just so honoured to be here and grateful to connect in this way, and hope that, you know, that what I'm sharing with people gives them hope and belief in themselves too.
Yes, absolutely. And your story is just such a story of truth, and how you can reach your potential, you can reach that divine calling. Somebody sent me something this morning. It was in a little group. I'm in a little women's group. We are a little tribe and we support each other, and they put this out this morning, and it couldn't have been more relevant. It says, when it's time for something new, you'll feel it. When you feel a desire to let go, to shed layers, to move, to recreate, you will know, because there will be subtle shifts all around you. You will release the old, because you are really clearing the path for what's ahead. And the final line of that is just trust the process. And that trust the process really spoke to me, because sometimes I want to kind of control everything, and sometimes we just have to really trust that process, trust that healing process. And speaking to you today has been absolutely beautiful, and I'm trusting the process, and by bringing you on, and it's absolutely beautiful to have you here. So thank you for joining us, and wherever you are listening in the UK, across the world, it just leaves me to wish you an absolutely wonderful, wonderful, fabulous week, a wonderful week of well-being. Have a great week.